and new reports today suggest a Pentagon review will not propose scrapping the deal for Australia.
It does look like AUKUS is, in the words of both US and Australian officials, safe. And I think that they're just not quite ready to announce the findings of this review that was supposed to only take 30 days but has stretched on for a few months now. Perhaps it's just a bargaining tactic that the Americans are really just putting a bit of pressure on their AUKUS partners in Australia to make them focus seriously on defence spending. We know the Trump administration has been critical of Australia's current defence spending levels and wants that lifted significantly.
You know, Australia has invested heavily in this partnership. If the submarine deal does get scaled back or delayed, where does that leave Canberra? What options do they have?
It's pretty grim. Australia's already begun the process of transferring billions of dollars to the United States to help its submarine production base in the US. But in truth, if the US decides down the track that it can't afford to give or sell some of its Virginia-class submarines to Australia, essentially there's no refund and no option for Australia. So really, without a plan B, it's all in for Australia. Australia is determined that it must get these submarines.
It is expected to be on hold, and indeed it is on hold. 3.6% is the cash rate.
Matt, the RBA have kept rates on hold. What does that mean for the average Aussie household?
Well, no relief today, and I'll tell you what, the chances of any more relief in the next few months of this year remain in the balance. And the reason for that is the RBA has become concerned that inflation is bouncing back. And what we've seen over the last few months is there have been some warnings that if you take your eye off the ball, inflation can bounce back. It's like a vampire coming out of the coffin. When you think it's dead and you've driven a stake through its heart, you discovered you actually haven't. And that's what Michelle Bullock is now worrying about today.
Oh, well, that does sound pretty ominous. Is there a chance that they could lift the rate again?
So there have been some commentators that think after today's decision, keep rates on hold at 3.6%, that they may remain on hold for some considerable time, and then potentially next year either a cut or a lift depending on what the circumstances are. So that's the most pessimistic view. There are some more optimistic people that have, at least in recent days, and they may be feeling a little bit less optimistic this afternoon, in recent days, the more optimistic people have said they still think a November cut or a December cut is a chance. But based on what the board has said today, I think the chances of a move in November are a bit less likely than borrowers might hope.
Why is inflation so sticky right now?
Well, the data from from last week showed headline inflation 3%. Now, a lot of that was about these power bills, the rebates to your power bills. They're on and they're off, and so that sort of confuses and messes around all the data. But what we have seen is things like building costs coming in hotter than expected. And actually, if you look through the numbers, even things like fruit and vegetables and groceries, they were starting to pick back up again. And I think the thing to really remember in all of this is people often see the inflation data and they look at the individual items and they kind of go, oh, what's happening why is dairy up or down? Why is meat up or down? Why is rents up or down? But the biggest influence overall is the economy getting too hot, or is the economy being cooled down? And the whole point of raising interest rates is to try to slow things down. The whole point of cutting interest rates is to try to speed things up. And if you cut too quickly and you speed things up too quickly and consumers' spending starts to pick up as household incomes rise and everyone starts to feel a little bit better, suddenly when that demand starts to grow again, you start to have an inflation problem again. And that's something that we've seen historically over decades. This is very often the case when you fight inflation and you think you've driven your stake into the vampire's heart, suddenly it jumps out of the coffin again.
TMZ is reporting Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban have separated.
One of Hollywood's longest-standing power couples have reportedly called it quits. Actress Nicole Kidman and country music star Keith Urban married in 2006, just 18 months after first meeting at the annual G'day USA Gala. The couple celebrated their 19th wedding anniversary in June this year, with Kidman marking the occasion by posting a picture of the pair on social media. But reports from Variety overnight suggest the couple have ended their relationship. However, they have not yet filed for divorce. Urban has reportedly moved out of the couple's Nashville home. There has been no official statement from Keith or Nicole. The couple share 2 daughters together, Sunday Rose, 18, and Faith Margaret, 14.